your place for quick summaries of movies with jaw-dropping twists. Let's dive in. The movie begins today during the reign of the Qing dynasty in China, after the emperor confiscated all the weapons in the country and ordered a swordsmith named Yat-Si to craft a special sword for him. Indeed, he made the sword, which was named the Sword of Light. However, the emperor decided to get rid of him so that he wouldn't make swords for anyone else. Fat Shaohan sensed that the emperor would betray him, so he decided to craft another legendary sword called the Sword of Chang. One day, the emperor's soldiers attacked his home and killed his entire family. At that moment, he quickly grabbed the sword and gave it to his son Ming, telling him to protect it as it was the only inheritance he left for him. He then threw himself into the water to escape. The soldiers took from him the Sword of Light, which he had made specifically for the emperor, and then killed him. His son cried and screamed for him. Years passed and Ming grew up into a young man. He was waiting for a warrior on the tree, and as soon as the warrior passed by, he told him that people had promised him 200 taels of gold if he killed him. Ming replied, "Here I am, go ahead. What are you waiting for?" But Ming told him, "You're lucky because today is the first day of the Khmer month, and we don't kill on this day, but I can take 100 taels from you and let you live." The warrior attacked him quickly and placed his sword on him. When he saw Ming's sword, he asked, "Who gave you this sword?" Ming replied, "The only one who can answer you is dead now." The warrior told him that swords reflect the personality of their owner and hoped Ming understood the value of the sword he had. Then he left them and walked away. When they returned to their city, they found the gate closed, with many people gathered outside wanting to enter. But the city's governor refused to let them in. Ming approached the gate's guard and told him they were servants of the city governor and wanted to enter. However, the guard told him, "You're just like everyone else, and no one will be allowed in." At that moment, the Prince Duke was with the city governor. The prince asked him, "What do you think of my shoes?" The governor replied that they were beautiful. The prince said, "Let me tell you a story from 10 years ago. There was a governor just like you. People from outside wanted to enter the city, and he refused. Those people joined the rebels, gathered an army, and later attacked the city, killing the governor. Not only that, but they made these shoes I'm wearing now from his skin, and you said you liked them." The governor, scared of what might happen to him, understood the message and ordered the guards to open the gate to let the people in. At that time, Ming and his companions also entered the city. Ming returned to his sister Xiao and told her to give the necklace to the merchant Cheng, take the money from him, and buy food for everyone. After she went to him and gave him the necklace, she told him that Ming had killed the man who wanted to get rid of him, and that this necklace was all that was left of him. Cheng asked her how he could be dead when people saw him walking in the city that same morning. She replied that she had seen him with her own eyes falling off the mountain after her brother killed him. Cheng told her, "Bring me his head and I'll give you the money, but otherwise you get nothing from me." Ming then went to a blacksmith and told him he wanted to work with him in crafting swords. The blacksmith replied that since his father died, no one dared to make swords anymore. He also told Ming that the sword he had was made of the finest iron from the 5 mountains and offered to buy it from him to make tools. But Ming didn't like the idea and left. He returned home to find everyone upset about their poverty and hunger. Ming stood watching them, feeling weak and broken because he couldn't find work or provide food for them. He later visited his father's grave and returned to the blacksmith, intending to sell the sword. However, his sister stopped him, saying that the sword was their only hope for avenging their father's death. Cheng later took them all to his house, fed them, and told them about an important person returning to the royal city who needed guards to accompany him. As soon as they saw the gold that they were going to take, they fell to the ground and could not believe their eyes. Shen told them that he would give them 100 taels before the mission and the rest after they finished. After that, he told them to go buy clean clothes instead of the filth that they were wearing. After that, his sister said to him, "Don't you feel that there is something strange?" He said to her, "You are right. I have not felt the happiness that I am in now for a long time." She asked him, "Why did Sheng choose us in particular?" He said to her that the Yiyuwa country is full of poverty and famine, and no one but us will agree to the mission. So she told him that the road to the royal city is very dangerous and no one goes there. But he told her that they took the money anyway and would return halfway. After that, they were walking and eating, but they found very poor and hungry people, and their condition was difficult for an infidel. At that moment, Meng told them that they must share the food with them. After that, they went to the people and gave them food, and the people were very happy. After they finished, they went to Prince Do. There, Meng told him that the road was very dangerous, and they wanted to take the other half of the money before they moved. At that moment, the prince agreed to their request and gave them the money, and they started moving to the city. At that time, the governor of the city was with Cheng and thanked him for the people he sent with the prince. But after that, he killed him and told him, "I won't need you anymore." Anyway, after a while, the group arrived at a small hotel and learned that the man with them was Prince Do. At that moment, Meng was shocked when he knew, because this prince was the son of the emperor who was killed. His father had been with him for a long time, but after that, the prince invited them to eat with him. But Meng told him that they were civilians and it was not right for them to eat together. The prince told him that they were all from the same country and equal, and none of them was better than the other. Moreover, they became friends and were currently on a trip together. After that, they started eating, and the prince asked Meng to see his sword. Whoever gave it to him, he told him that it was good, even though he believed it. Whoever told him that the seal on the sword he did not not know who it belonged to, so he told him no. Anyway, after they finished eating and everyone went back to their rooms, Xiao told Meng that she had always heard that Prince Do was a good man and not like his father at all. Now, after they had dealt with him, she was sure of that. But suddenly, while they were talking, they heard the sound of someone playing a musical instrument. At that moment, the prince came out of his room, but he found people surrounded and attacking him. But he was a strong fighter and was able to confront them. After that, Meng and Demel attacked them all and started killing them. But after that, one of them was able to knock Ming down and was going to hit his sister. But Ming's friend hit him on the head with a sword and he fell to the ground. And at that moment, Prince Do finished them all off easily until a strange fighter named Ji Walio appeared. And he was with a sword that his father was the one who made it before he died. And at that moment, he started attacking Prince Do, and they kept fighting each other with the sword. But the prince said to him, "If you kill me, then you have no business with the people with me." But the second one said to him, "I will not let any of you live." And then they went back to fighting. But Meng hit him with his sword, so Ji Walio asked him who he was, and they learned his name was Ming. The prince's guards then accidentally knocked over the candelabra, setting the entire inn on fire. They all fled together. Later, the prince thanked them for protecting him, but they asked who the man trying to kill him was. He told them it was Wu Liu, the strongest fighter in the kingdom, and not just anyone could face him. He explained that Wu Liu did this because his father, the emperor, had ordered him to return to appoint him as his successor. He also revealed that some people didn't want him to rule after his father. He asked them to leave, saying he would return alone. But Meng told Xiao that she and the others should return, and he would go with him. But she told him that she would go with him, so he refuses because they would not be able to protect themselves. At that time, she was convinced by his words and asked him to take care of himself, then left them and they walked. After that, they continued on their way to the city until they arrived in front of two passages and saw the bodies of killed rebels in front of them. The commander chose the road on the right, but Meng told him that there were many rebels on this road and they would not leave them alone. So the commander told him that those who wanted to kill him were much more dangerous than the rebels. Before they moved, Meng left his necklace on the tree and then they continued on their way. After a while, they arrived at a small hotel and the man who owned it hosted them. But then the rebels attacked him, so the man asked Meng and the prince to hide in the room and not make any noise. When the rebels attacked him and did not find anything on him, they took the man with them, but his son kept crying because he would be alone. Here, Meng decided to go and beat them, but the prince stopped him and told him that if he went after them, he would find his friends coming after them and they would not be finished. So he told him that these were his people and it was not right for him to stand by and watch them be attacked by someone. However, the prince told him that the rebels were also his people and they were definitely doing this because they were forced to, and the only solution for all this to stop was for peace and prosperity to return to the kingdom again. He told him that he wanted to return as quickly as possible to the royal city to try to fix the country that had been destroyed. At that time, Ji and Liu had reached the road that the prince and Meng had passed by and saw the mark that Meng had left on the tree, so he ordered his men to bring the rest of his guards and go after him at night. Meng asked the prince what had brought him to their city. The prince said that his father had ordered the elimination of some of the people's sects and also the confiscation of weapons in the country, but he did not like his father's words, so the emperor decided to punish him and send him to their city. The emperor decided to confiscate all the weapons in the country. However, the prince didn't like his father's decision. The emperor decided to teach him a lesson by sending him to their city. He also told him that there was someone inside the royal court who wanted to kill him, but he still didn't know who it was. Back to Wu Lu, who had reached their location, Ming saw him and took back the necklace he had left on the tree. Wu Lu asked him who had crafted his sword, and Ming replied, "I was about to ask you the same question." Wu Lu said he would answer if Ming told him where the Prince Duke was, but Ming refused and was about to kill him when they heard a sound in the distance. Wu Liu thought they were rebels and told his men they would return another time, but it turned out to be Xiao and Ming's friends. When Ming saw them, he asked, "Why are you following me again? Don't you know you could die here?" Xiao told him that if they had returned, they would have died of hunger anyway. She said they would go with him because if the prince reached the city safely, the kingdom's situation would improve, the famine would end, and they wouldn't starve anymore. In the end, Ming agreed, and they went with him. After returning to the prince, Wu Liu and his men attacked them again. They kept running away until their friend Dali fell, his leg caught in the ground. Ming was about to go back to help him, but Xiao and the prince held him back, and they continued running. At that moment, Dali and his two companions stayed where they were and attacked Ji Liu's men, but unfortunately, they could not do anything to them. Ji Liu killed Dali with his sword. At the same time, Ming and the prince kept running until they fell into a large slope, and Ming kept crying over his friends and told the prince that everything that happened to them was because of him, and that all his friends wanted was just to live a good life and nothing more. At that time, the prince had nothing to say to him except to apologize. But after that, the rebels came, caught them, and took them to their leader. As soon as they met him, they knew that they were travelers and that they had come to the city to finish some things. They were on their way, but the leader asked, "If you're travelers, why didn't you take the main road?" Zhao replied that it was filled with rebels who might have killed them. The man said, "We're all brothers and in the same crisis. Stay with us tonight so you can rest." After that, Ming told his sister that he was the reason for what happened to them, and and that he shouldn't have accepted the mission. But she told him, "Did you like what you were doing before you came here? At least protecting the prince might ultimately benefit and help fix the country." He told her that everything was over and they would return to their city tomorrow. She told him it wouldn't be possible to return anymore, and even if their friends were still with them, they would also refuse to go back. Besides, he needed to avenge his father. Later, we see the prince going to sit with the rebel leader and finding him writing on paper. He also found old books and started reading them. The man told him that the emperor had ordered all these books to be burned. He asked how he knew the words written in them. The prince replied that his father used to work in the royal library and read similar books when he was young. The man then said that as long as those who read these books still remember them, they could restore all the burned books again. The man then asked the prince if he would agree to stay with them and help him restore the books. At that time, Ming was training with his sword alone. The prince told him that if he did those moves in front of the rebels, they would mock them. Ming replied that his sword wasn't sharp and was essentially useless, but he needed to trust it to feel its strength since the sword's power comes from its wielder's belief in it. The prince dismissed this philosophical talk, saying he didn't understand such wisdom. But Ming explained that the sword was crafted to protect people, not kill them, and he had to trust it as if it were a close friend. At that moment, the rebel leader witnessed all this and realized the prince was among them. Meanwhile, Ming and the prince were preparing to leave, but the rebel leader arrived with his men. They captured him, tied him up, and were about to burn him. The leader held the torch and was about to set him on fire, but Ming stopped him, saying that his friends had died because of him and that he wanted to burn him himself. The leader handed him the torch but warned him not to make any sudden moves or he wouldn't spare him. Ming took the torch and upon reaching the prince, told him that the friends who had died were orphans and no different from him. He told the rebels that if the prince succeeded in becoming emperor, he must help them. He then explained to the rebels that the prince was a just and kind man, unlike his father, and that killing him would mean eliminating the country's last hope to rid itself of oppression and poverty. At the same time, a woman and her daughter arrived and told the leader that they were good people who didn't deserve to be burned. The rebel leader was convinced by their words and ordered his men to release the prince. He even showed him a shortcut to the royal city, warning him that if he didn't prove to be as they said, he would come to the city himself and kill him. The prince thanked him for his help and left with Ming and Xiao. Meanwhile, Ji Wuliu returned to his leader, Zhao Han, and handed him the Sword of Light, explaining that he couldn't kill Prince Du. Zhao drew his sword and was about to kill him, but Ji Wuliu disappeared and reappeared behind him in an instant, saying his master had taught him to follow his destiny, which no one could change. At the same time, Ming told the prince that his father had said before his death that the day the sword was completed would be the day he avenged him. The prince examined the sword again, but found nothing special about it, suggesting that Ming's father might have meant something else. Shortly after, Ji Wuliu met the prince and told him that destiny had kept him alive, advising him to take care of himself before leaving. The next day, they reached the path leading to the city, but suddenly arrows were shot at them from the mountain above. Zhao Han arrived with his men, telling Ming it was time for him to become a new man after years of serving his father and carrying out his every command. When Ming saw him, he immediately recognized him as the man who had killed his father and attacked him without hesitation. Zhao Han taunted him, saying he had killed his entire family and wondered how Ming had managed to escape unnoticed. The two clashed, and Zhao Han struck Ming's sword, breaking it in half. He then attacked Ming's sister, slashing her neck with his sword. Meanwhile, the prince was fighting off the guards and told Ming and Xiao to take the horse and escape. They rode off and eventually stopped to rest. Xiao, gravely injured, passed away on Ming's shoulder, leaving him devastated as he mourned the loss of everyone he loved. He buried his sister, deeply saddened, and threw away his sword. Meanwhile, Prince Du reached his father, who was on the verge of death, but Zhao Han stabbed him with a knife, killing him. He then told his soldiers that the prince had killed his father to seize the throne and stabbed himself to make it seem like the prince had attacked him too, completing the crime. Later, Ming stumbled upon the corpses of dead people and was confronted by the fighter who had attacked him on the merchant Sheng's orders. Ming asked who had killed them, and the fighter admitted it was him. He then told Ming about his father and the sword he had made for him, saying that even though the sword was broken, it shouldn't stop him if he truly believed in it. Ming searched for his sword until he found it and returned to his father's house, where he recalled the day his father was killed by Zhao Han and his men. He remembered his father's words about the sword being completed when he avenged him, and realized it meant the sword had to be stained with blood to be complete. At that time, Zhao Han was preparing to execute Prince Dao, but Ming suddenly arrived with the rebels behind him. He declared that someone had told him the country wouldn't change by the sword alone, but through faith and justice, and that person was Prince Du. He vowed to save the prince to save their country. The rebels launched a fierce attack on the soldiers, and Ming displayed his exceptional combat skills, defeating them one by one with ease. He reached Zhao Han's throne room, killing the guards at the gate and then the soldiers inside. Initially, he managed to defeat several of them, but they eventually overpowered him and knocked him to the ground. Zhao Han laughed and mocked him, but Ming remembered his father's words, and suddenly the sword began to regenerate after being stained with his blood, becoming complete. At that moment, he began attacking all of them quickly. He started striking them with his sword until he defeated them all with ease. Only he and Zhao Han were left. At that point, he charged charged at him with all his strength and continued fighting him fiercely. Both of them were highly skilled in combat, and neither could overpower the other. But after a while, Meng managed to move behind him and stab him with the sword, finishing him off. At that moment, the guards were terrified of him and left Prince Do. Meng realized that people were waiting outside, and as soon as he stepped out, they stopped fighting and all bowed to him. At that moment, the prince thanked Meng for helping him reclaim the country. But suddenly, Meng disappeared in front of him, leaving him and walking away. A few years passed, and Meng was sitting in his father's house. A little boy told him that someone outside wanted to see him and said he wanted to have tea with him. As soon as he went out to see who it was, he discovered it was Prince Do. And the movie ends there. I hope you enjoyed this summary. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel if it's your first time watching us so you don't miss any updates. See you in the next movie. Goodbye.